الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Inshallah, we are still continuing our Tafseer from Surah Quran, precisely verse 57, right, of Surah Al-Baqarah. Yesterday we ended our discussion on verse 56, where Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is saying, ثُمَّ بَعَثْنَاكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَوْتِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. So today we'll be proceeding from verse 57 of this noble surah, that is Surah Al-Baqarah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وظللنا عليكم الغمام وأنزلنا عليكم المن والسلوى كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم وما ظلمونا ولكن كانوا أنفسهم يظلمون. وإذ قلنا ادخلوا هذه القرية فكلوا منها حيث شئتم رغدا وادخلوا الباب سجدا وقولوا حطة نغفر لكم خطاياكم وسنزيد المحسنين. فبدل الذين ظلموا قولا غير الذي قيل لهم فأنزلنا على الذين ظلموا رجزا من السماء بما كانوا يفسقون. Alhamdulillah. So in these noble verses of the Quran, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is still reminding the children of Israel, that is Bani Israel, of His favors upon them. So now He is also reminding them of another situation. He said, وَظَلَّلْنَا عَلَيْكُمُ الْغَمَامَ. And remember, when we shaded you with the cloud. He said, well, they were moving from Egypt, going, and part of the ways Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, protected them, showered His mercy upon them, was that He made the cloud to shade them against the heat of the sun. So Allah is saying to them that they should remember, ظَلَّلْنَا عَلَيْكُمُ الْغَمَامَ. We shaded you, we protected you, we covered you from the heat of the sun using the cloud. And not only that, He said, وَأَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَنَّ وَالسَّلْوَى. We sent down, for you, al-man was-salwa. This al-man was-salwa, they are foods being, provided them by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala within the period they were on that journey. Is one of the mercy of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala He have bestowed upon them. So instead of them preparing their food or cooking their food or searching for food, but rather He sent down, food for them that they can never imagine, and they can never get it anywhere It contains virtually whatever they need to be able to survive. And that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, وَأَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَنَّ وَالسَّلْوَى. And apart from the food being provided them, the food was provided to them in abundance. They said, Allah now said to them, كُلُوا مِن طَيِّبَاتِ, eat out of the good, lawful things, مَا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ, that we provided you. Then he said, وَمَا ظَلَمُونَ, they did not wrong us. وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ, but rather they wronged themselves. Yes, with everything Allah did for them, for them, they committed a lot of atrocities along the line. Like we mentioned, one of it was them worshipping the calf in the absence of Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and also some kind of tough situation or challenges they subjected their prophet alayhi salatu wasalam to. That is Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, along with his assistant, that is Prophet Harun alayhi salatu wasalam. So many scenarios. Like one of it is what? The story of the killing of somebody. They were asked to what? They wanted the prophet to guide them with the help of Allah, for them to be able to figure out who was responsible. They asked, and then when he began to tell them what to do, then they were asking him some funny questions. For instance, they asked him to assist them. They asked him to guide them. Then Allah now narrated the story that وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ يَا قَوْمِ وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تَذْبَحُوا بَقَرَةً. He said to them that Allah commanded you to slaughter a cow. Then they said to him, أَتَتَّخِذُونَ هُزُوًا, do you take us for a joke? The whole prophet talking to them, instead of them complying or responding, if there's something they need clarification, asking or commenting in a bit respectful way, but they are now telling him that he's what? Is he taking them for what? For a joke? So how would prophet have time for such kind of attitude? But they still acted that way. And also some other instances, or take for instance along the line too, if they requested for him to seek Allah's help for them to be able to enter the city, and according to the most widely acceptable view, the city is what? Baitul Maqdis. Then Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, said to them, Ya Bani Israel, O you children of Israel, اذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ جعل فيكم أنبياء وجعلكم ملوكا وآتاكم ما لم يؤت أحدا من العالمين. He reminded them that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala bestowed a lot of favors upon them. He brought out many prophets from among them. You will see, for instance, like himself is one of them. He is a prophet. His elder brother was also a prophet at the same time. جعل فيكم أنبياء جعلكم ملوكا, and he made you what? Leaders or kings, rulers. وآتاكم, and he also said Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala gave you ما لم يؤت أحدا من العالمين, what he did not give many of the people in the universe. Then also, so now he said to them, they requested, and he, with the permission of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, Allah guiding him, then he said what? ادخلوا الأرض المقدسة التي كتب الله لكم, enter into the sacred land which Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala have what? Written for you. If it is Allah who have actually written for them, then if they comply with Allah's injunction, definitely nobody can stop them. But what happened? They now turned to the Prophet and said to him, Inna fiha qawman jabbari. In that town, there are some, arrogant and tough people living in that town. And they said to Prophet Musa, alayhi salatu wasalam, that what? Inna fiha qawman jabbarin. Then they say, Inna lan nadkhulaha, we will not enter hatta yakhruju minha, until they go out of the place. That is, the people should go out on their own without them facing them in any way. Then, about two men who were righteous. That is why no matter how bad you think a community is, you still find some good ones. Then two men who were in قال رجلان يخافون أنعم الله عليهم وادخلوا عليهم الباب. They said to them, just enter the gate. You know how Allah will do His own work. He won't tell you. Take for example, He sent them al-mann wa salwa. He only asked them to leave what? Prophet Musa to lead them out of Egypt. But He did not tell them He is going to give them al-mann wa salwa at that time. But on their way, He's giving them some other, things that He was giving them. For instance, on their way, they thought that the people of Pharaoh will catch up with them when they saw them. But Allah Ta'ala commanded Prophet Musa to strike the sea, and the sea splitted into two, and they were able to cross. So there are so many things He have done for them. So if He actually commanded them to what? To go into the city, if they comply with Allah Ta'ala's injunction, He will give them success. So Allah Ta'ala, when they refused, then Allah Ta'ala then left them, and they became confused because they refused to comply. So they want the people to come out. They want to dictate what happens or how things should be done to Allah Ta'ala. So they were left like that, yatihuna fil ard, confused, wandering, in the land, not having a direction. Then sometimes they move, they think they've gone far. When it is day or the day breaks, sometimes they discover they are, maybe, sometimes somebody finding himself in a very bushy area. Sometimes you think you're going in a particular direction. After turning and maybe after some hours, you raise your head and you see that you're what? You're back to where you left. So it's like you are not moving. Because after turning, you end up the same place. So they were confused, wandering like that. With the prophet among them, that is Prophet Musa and Prophet Harun. Because there's one thing with Allah Ta'ala, sometimes He make a people or a community or a group of people from them to tell the consequences of some mistakes committed by others. Sometimes. Because Allah said to us in the verse of the Quran, وَاتَّقُوا fitna, fear trial. Why? Or calamity. He said, لَا تُصِيبَنَّ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْكُمْ خَاصَّةً. It's not only those who caused it that suffer it. Or take for example, like in almost all countries of the world, yes, everybody fighting corruption. So it is not only those perpetrating the corruption that suffers the consequence of corruption. So even if you didn't perpetrate it, sometimes the effect, the consequence also what? Touches you. Because the way Allah designed our life, there is connection between my life and your own and mine. See, someone who's supposed to construct the road, if he constructs that road well, those person will enjoy it. If he didn't construct it well, those person will not. Will also suffer. Yes, he will suffer the consequence of his own evil. Others will also share in a way. And that's why when something wrong is going on, then it becomes mandatory upon everyone within his own power to try and see how he can contain it. So they were left wandering for almost 40 years. Within that period, Prophet Harun alayhi salatu wasalam died. They did not finish accomplishing that mission. He died, and also Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam also died. Then Allah Ta'ala, now maybe when some of them realized their mistakes, asking Allah Ta'ala for forgiveness and guidance, then through Prophet Yusha, Allah now gave them the chance of what? Being victorious over the people, that they were afraid of. And that is, Prophet Yusha, he was the young boy at a point who was moving with Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Like we have the story in Surah Al-Kahf, who was holding or taking care of their food, holding the fish. When Prophet Musa was trying to get some information from someone, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, in a Khadr that he was asked to meet. So after the death of Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, then Yusha takes, over the leadership, that is continuing the message of Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and leading Banu Israel. So fortunately, he was, able to accomplish that. But still, certain attitude, if it is a people, sometimes it's difficult for it to disappear completely. So after that, when they got that, then Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, after saying, وَأَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ مِنَ الصَّلْوَ كُلُوا مِنْ طَيِّبَاتِ وَمَا ظَلَمُونَا وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. But before we end that part, in this verse, Allah says, وَمَا ظَلَمُونَا, they did not wrong us. They did not harm us. Because no one can harm Allah. Allah said in a hadith that إِنَّكُمْ لَن تَبْلُغُوا ضُرِّي فَتَضُرُّونِي وَلَن تَبْلُغُوا نَفْعِي فَتَنْفَعُونِي. You don't have the capacity to what? To harm me, talk less of you harming me. You don't have that capacity. There is no way you can harm Allah. He is far, far beyond someone you can even imagine doing any harm to us. Whether something benefit. You can benefit him, you cannot harm him. He said, if the entire people, he said, لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم, if all of you, from the first to the last, the jinn, the mankind and the jinn, if you will all come together and live a kind of the most rotten life on the surface of the earth, that does not reduce anything out of my power. So meaning, if you refuse to obey him, that doesn't reduce anything out of his power. And one of the reasons why you will understand that is this: if you refuse to obey him, you only refuse to obey him because he gave you the chance for you to take decision. It's just like someone who is powerful than you. Take for example, like the case of Ukraine and Russia now. You see, if it is just by power, you will see that Russia can wipe off Ukraine completely within some seconds or some minutes. So maybe if the person is allowing some things to go to side, maybe something is slow, but they have the weapons to what? To do that. This is even your fellow human being. Like they fight. I'm not talking about right, wrong yet. We're just giving an example. When you have to, if you are now to face Allah, so you cannot face him. This is your fellow human being. Sometimes there are those within your fellow human being, when you are facing them, you yourself know you are facing someone somehow stronger than you. It's not your mate. So what more of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala? That you don't even understand fully who he is. You can't describe him. You can only say little about him based on what he told you. That means usually is one of the most difficult things you face is when you have a fight with somebody very powerful and you don't even have details of the person. You see, naturally the person is more powerful than you, and two, you don't have his details. So you need somebody's detail to be able to face him. That's why you cannot face Allah. He said, وَمَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودَ رَبِّكَ إِلَّا هُ. No one knows his armies except he himself. He can destroy you with water. He can destroy you with heat. He can destroy you with cold. So anything, he can destroy you with money. He can destroy you with enjoyment. He can destroy you with what? Suffering. And he can make you enjoy with suffering. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was thrown into the fire. And he said, well, Ya naru kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. Allah said, we said to the fire, be what? cold, and peace, and what? Safe for who? For Ibrahim. So he was in the fire just like normal this thing. So he's even in a safer place than they who made the fire. Fish swallowed somebody. Yunus, alayhi salatu wasalam. And he spent time in the fish and he came out still not dead. Because Allah did not want the fish to take his life. So nothing happened to you except what Allah has permitted. And you cannot do anything except what Allah allow you to do. That's why in the areas you think you have power, there are areas He allow you to decide, because He have decided or destined that yes, He is going to judge you by that. Like I used to say to us from time to time, Allah only judge you with what? Based on what you have capability. Based on what He allows you to decide, not based on what He decides. He doesn't hold you accountable for what He decides. That's why if you are poor or you are rich, naturally, so Allah won't put you in hell in that. So there is no Jannah for the rich or for the poor, because He has a command Yasha. There is no Jannah for the person who have power and the one who doesn't have power. The Jannah is the same. No Jannah for tall and short. No Jannah for what? For fat or slim. There are things that yes, He decides. No Jannah for someone whose father is a prophet, and Jannah for someone whose father is a Fir'aun. So if your father is a prophet or your father is a kafir, yes, you can enter the same Jannah with somebody whose father is a prophet. Because what determines your Jannah is your level of compliance with Allah's law, with Allah's injunction. So there is no way you can harm Allah. So the way you are, He chose it for you. You didn't choose it. That is in terms of ability. He chose your ability. You didn't choose your ability. He made you a creature that can decide in certain areas because that's how He wants you to be. So it's not your own ability, it's not your own decision, it's not your own making. Like the angels, He didn't want them to decide anything, and that's why He made them creatures that yes, no matter what they do, they are not committing sin. Because everything they do 100% is command from Allah. If they take your life, it's not a sin. Because He only takes your life if Allah commands Him to take your life. That's why you cannot say angel of death is wicked. He's not wicked. That's what he is created for by his maker. So he executes that without mercy. So if the time Allah asks him to pick a lady is when she is in labor, yes, she will be in that labor, he will still pick her. Because her giving birth is not his own duty. His own is to control when he, to let you live or take you when Allah asks him to take you. So he will not make calculation as to what you are doing that time. It's not his own business. They ask him to pick you now. He will pick you. He won't allow you to take a single second more, and he will not take you a single second before, because he is not given that permission. So he will take you the exact second he's supposed to take you. Somebody is driving, he won't say, let me allow him reach his destination, or passengers are in the vehicle, let me allow him park before I pick him. He is not checking that one. It's not his own duty. Somebody else have that duty. The person will do his own job. So when he picks the person, the one that Allah did not say he will die, he will not die. Anywhere the vehicle enter, he will still survive. How he will survive, that is Allah's own. But we've seen so many miraculous circumstances. Somebody being climbed by a vehicle and after he gets up, because that is not when he's supposed to die. His plane crash, maybe the one in the worst state, maybe sometime you will still see him survive. You can see an accident, you see the vehicle, you will say nobody survived, based on what you see, how you saw the vehicle. And they will tell you that nobody died, because it is the vehicle that Allah said will go, not the people. So whatever misbehavior they do, They are not harming Allah, but they are harming themselves. ولكن كانوا أنفسهم يظلمون. But they are what? Harming themselves. And Allah now went further, so وَإِذْ قُلْنَا دَخُلُوا هَذِهِ الْقَرْيَةِ. And remember what we said to them, enter into this city. Well, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا دَخُلُوا هَذِهِ الْقَرْيَةِ. Right. Because what I'm trying to look at is the time. I just glanced at the time, and I see that we still have 2 more verses out of the ones we've read. So maybe we'll continue. We'll go first, inshallah. We'll know that we still have the same story, inshallah, to continue, so that we don't go beyond, too much beyond our usual time. So inshallah, tomorrow we continue from where we paused. So today we've read verse 57, right? So tomorrow we'll still repeat verse 58 and 59. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وإلى لقاء آخر إن شاء الله.